What is the best system for taking notes in class? Well, luckily for you, I did the research, and it turns out that there are 5 different note-taking systems that are generally accepted to be pretty darn good. And of course, I will be representing these note-taking systems with Street Fighter characters, because why not? So, the 5 note-taking systems I'm going to go over in this video include the outline method, the CORNELL method, the mind map method, the flow method, and the write on the slides method. The first note-taking system on my list is the outline method. I've chosen Ryu to represent it because the outline method is straightforward, based on hierarchy, disciplined, and overall very simple. In fact, you couldn't get more simple than the outline method unless you were just straight up writing paragraph notes down, and if you think that's gonna be a good note-taking method, well, things are not gonna work out for you. So the outline method is a note-taking system that's based on bullet points and hierarchy. Basically, to take outline style notes, you simply create top-level bullet points of all the main points in the lecture. Then you make lower-level bullet points to fill out all the details. If you're taking outline notes on paper, it's a good idea to either space out your main bullet points or summarize them at the top if your professor goes through them, and then make new bullet points that are more detailed down the line. However, if you're taking these notes on a computer like I always did in a program like Evernote or Byword or another word processor, you can easily go back, add new bullet points, and format things without having to mess up the structure of your document too much. So honestly, for the outline method, I think using a computer is a perfect approach. The second note-taking method on my list is the CORNELL method, and I've chosen Chun-Li to represent it because she's got multiple kicks and it's got multiple sections. The CORNELL method was developed by Walter Pock back in the 1950s, and it still holds up pretty well today. When you take your notes in the CORNELL style, you divide your paper into 3 distinct sections. On the top of your paper, you'll have 2 different columns, the left one being the cue column, and the right one being the note-taking column. And underneath those 2 columns, you add another box for the summary. During class, you use the note-taking column on the right to write notes in a normal style. However, this is where the CORNELL method deviates from other note-taking systems. As soon as you can after class, you write down questions or cues in the cue column. These are meant to help you review later. You also write down a summary of the lecture in the summary column. These 2 sections of the CORNELL method, the summary and the cue column, they're both designed to help you build reviewable notes the first time you write them. That way you don't have to go back and rework your notes so much. Note-taking system number 3 is the mind map method. You know, it's been said that your mind is a map of the territory that is reality. So maybe by that logic, the mind map system is the perfect note-taking system. Actually, that doesn't make any sense at all. Either way, I chose Dalsim to represent the mind mapping system because he's a meditator and he's always focused on improving his mind. To begin a mind map, you simply take a blank piece of paper, draw a circle in the middle of it, and add the main topic of the lecture there. Then you'll start branching off little trees and adding subtopics. Eventually you'll have lots of little branches and you'll create a mind map. I never actually used mind maps for my class notes, but I have used them for blog post topics before. When I wanted to write a blog post on all the ways you could save money in college, I wanted to make sure I could cover all my bases. So I created a mind map. I put saving money in college in the middle and then tried to figure out all the different facets of a student's life where they have to spend money. Building a mind map helped me organize all these topics, and as a result, I was able to create a more comprehensive list in the end. The fourth note-taking system is the flow method. This system was invented by the writer Scott Young, who's probably best known for going through the entire MIT computer science curriculum in a single year. Scott uses what he calls holistic learning, and his approach is diametrically opposed to the rigid, transcribing style of the outline method. As a result, I chose Blanca to represent this note-taking system. His fighting style is that of basically a wild animal, and it's the complete opposite of more disciplined fighters like Ryu or Guile. And that is a perfect way to describe the flow system of note-taking. You're not trying to get every single detail from the lecture down onto your paper. And in fact, the point is not to transcribe the lecture at all. Rather, it's to learn while you are sitting in class. As you take your notes, your goal is to create an original document that represents your mental image of the subject. It's not to record verbatim what your professor said. As you take notes, you can go back to earlier points, add details, draw in arrows and little offshoots, and basically create something that is your own. The entire point of the flow system of note-taking is to learn it once. This lets you accelerate your learning, and that's the real strength of the system. The final system of taking notes is the lazy man's way of taking notes. And I call it the write on the slides method. To represent this note-taking method, I chose Zangief. Because Zangief. Seriously, do you really think I put a whole lot of thought into these things? If your professor actually lets you download the lecture slides before class, then it can be pretty convenient to just go print them off the computer lab and write directly on them. One of the cool things about this method is that the slides more or less mirror the flow of the lecture, so you almost get a sort of timeline view when you take notes on slides. It's kind of like SoundCloud, where people can actually leave comments at specific times during an audio file. Taking notes on slides isn't that accurate, but it's pretty close. And when you do it, you can look back and say, okay, at this slide, he was talking about return on the cost of buzzwords synergy management. So those are the real strengths of the method. You don't have to write as much because the slides sort of do it for you, and you get a sort of timeline view for your notes. So those are, in my humble opinion, the best 5 note-taking systems out there. Which one's right for you? Hey there! Thanks for watching my video on the different note-taking systems you can use. If you like this video, I would absolutely appreciate it if you could give it a like and share it with a friend who's maybe not as good at taking notes as you are. Charity's a good thing, right? If you want to get more videos every single week on being awesome at college, including more videos on how to take better notes, which I'll have coming out in the next couple of weeks, then hit the subscribe button up in the corner. Yeah, that one. If you missed last week's video, well, you can click the button right under that. It's not actually a button, it's more like a little movie clip, but it'll get you there all the same, so whatever. If you want to get links to other websites with additional information on any of these note-taking systems, then click the orange logo in the left corner where you'll find the companion blog post for this video. If you'd like to get a free chapter of my book Hacking Productivity when it comes out, well, click that thing. Also, if you would like to suggest any other video ideas for the future or leave a comment, then leave a comment. Or you can connect with me on Twitter.